Destination and Kawasaki's finest prevail at Binghamton and triumphantly hoist another #1 plate. With the 250s all but wrapped up, the real dramas in the 125 class. With 2 races left, the battle is between Mike Brown and Grant Langston. Langston left Millville, the new points leader, but the fierce rivalry between the former world champion and Tennessee's own heats up here today. With Travis Pastrana out for the season, who will motocross's newest champion be once the smoke clears of the 2001 season? Stay tuned. Round 11 from upstate New York is next on Speed World. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Round 11 of the Chevy Trucks AMA Motocross Championships from Broome Tioga Sports Center in Binghamton, New York. It is an absolute perfect day for the showdown in the 125 class between Grant Langston and Mike Brown. Art Ekman, David Bailey, and Davey Coombs ready to bring you the action on this very exciting day of motocross action. The South African with 4 wins to Brown's 3 on the season. Grant Langston on the KTM, trying to become the first non-American citizen to win a 125 American championship. He's also trying to be the first to put a European bike atop the point standings. Number 111 leads Mike Brown by 3 points. Also a note on the Suzuki point standings, Larry Ward has a chance to catch Travis Pastrana for 3rd place. Let's go to Davey Combs.
Well, that's it, Art. 3 points. It comes down to those 2 guys right back there. Grant Langston at 372, Mike Brown with 369. We've had battles this close before, just last year, Travis Pastrana and Stephane Roncada. But you know what? This year it seems different. It seems more intense. 4 motos to go, 3 points separate them. It could go right down to the wire.
Ricky Carmichael interested in the action as we take a look at the Suzuki starting grid. Grant Langston, Mike Brown battling it out for the title with Larry Ward and Ernesto Fonseca in a battle there for 3rd place, along with the departed Travis Pastrana, Brock Sellards, Nathan Ramsey. Brandon Jessamine having a good ending to his 125 season, and Roderick Kane coming back after injury. Scott Sheik, David Huffman, Greg Schnell, Kelly Smith all putting in fine isolated performances this year as the 125s get ready. We look at the other participants. Doug Henry, and he's on a 2-stroke Yamaha. That should prove interesting. Steve Lamson on the Husqvarna, the former 2-time 125 champion. Ricky Carmichael can't stay away from that starting gig.
No, he's real interested in what it takes to keep Brown motivated, and anything he can may notice. Having that perspective of looking at this class from the outside. He's sharing all that stuff with Brown. They ride together during the week, and Brown's got an advantage there.
Kawasaki hoping for a 125-250 sweep this year. Mike Brown has to get by Grant Langston, though. They're right together here on the starting pad.
See the stars on the back of Langston and Brown. 4 wins for Langston, 3 for Brown. A little meaner in the 250 class. They represent those with a skull and crossbones.
A 4-stroke Larry Ward right next to Brown. Let's see who gets the break. It wasn't Larry Ward. Langston on the inside. Langston's got the early lead. Oh, Nick Way goes tumbling over the hay bales. But out in front, Grant Langston with Mike Brown in good position.
Well, he's hung up in the fence right there. Tough year for Nick Way, and he's still looking for a ride. That won't help.
Jessamine and Kane also right there with good starts. Number 31 is Jessamine moving into 2nd place.
This is perfect for Grant Langston to have the lead this early and to have some privateers back there in 2nd. Just sort of postpone Brown's arrival because he will show up at the front. He's motivated.
Langston coming into this round with terrific momentum. A 2nd place at Washougal. A 1-1 sweep win at Millville in the last race. There you see Brown in 6th place. There's no way he's going to stay there. He's going to ride on the edge until he catches Langston.
Work. Huh. Not sure what that's supposed to mean.
Well, both Langston and Brown, you can't get tougher workers.
No, they work hard. He's looking back just to see. All he cares about is that green guy back there with number 100. All that matters. And the more riders he sees between himself and Brown, the better. He does a little, loses the front end back there just a little bit, but it didn't affect him.
As you see on the track as well, It's good to be out in front here because of the rocks. Very similar to Unadilla. They're not too far away from each other. The guys wearing chest protectors. They've got the hand guards.
Langston wearing his under the jersey. No hand guards. That's confidence. Doesn't really like to ride. It affects the way the bike looks, like changing the front fender on your bike. The front of the bike looks different. Feels like it handles different. It takes some getting used to. So he's just decided, hey, I'm going to get the whole shot and not have to worry about any of these rocks.
Many of the teams experimenting with the Moose-type tires, too. There's Mike Brown moving up to third already. Getting around Fonseca, number 25. And there he's got Jessamine. Brown versus Jessamine. Brown cuts him off quickly.
Well, Jessamine made a little bit of a mistake, and since Brown wasn't following, he went right around him, and he didn't really mean to cut him off. That was just the best line. Once he was ahead, he could go wherever he wanted. Obviously, Mike Brown's mechanic with the pit board had something else written on the board before he moved into third place. And now into second place. Well, I don't believe how fast Brown was able to get when Langston turns around. Look at that contact back there. Jessamine and Fonseca. Fonseca, number 25 of the Yamaha Troy. For 125 action. Oh, the scene is set for a great one. Chevy Trucks AMA Motocross is brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, long-lasting trucks on the road. And by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, and scooters. Back to the action here in the opening 125 moto, and the two contenders are 1 and 2. Grant Langston, number 111 on the KTM, as they ride by Roger DeCoster of Suzuki. It's the Kawasaki of number 100, the Pro Circuit Kawasaki of Mike Brown, now starting to really put pressure on Langston. If you're Langston right here, you got to be a little bit nervous about Brown being behind you, because we've seen how aggressive he is. Langston looks over at him. He knows he caught him fast. That makes you nervous right there, but the aggressive style of Brown. Through to the inside. Oh, a little rubbing on the plastic. Mike Brown takes over the lead here in the opening lap. What a move. That was impressive. Just look at this. He's waving him on? I don't believe it. A little bit of Rocky movie stuff. You ain't so bad. Hey, come on. Where are you? I can't believe it's not so much the move, but the fact that he was able to get up to Langston as fast as he did. And Langston is ready to turn it up. He'll learn from Brown's lines and go right back at him. Langston to the inside, almost right on that rear rubber of Mike Brown. Langston looking for the opportunity to retake the lead. This rivalry, which started in Europe, with Langston, they're touching again. Bar to bar, Brown looks over. Well, Brown asked for it. You know? And he got it. Start getting cute with those gestures, and you're just asking for trouble, and Langston is the kind of guy that can give you some. Both riders breathing with confidence. Surprised they haven't dropped third yet. Look at this again. Now this pass, see, Langston looks over. He knows he's coming. He didn't leave much room. Watch it. Look at how high Brown's foot is. That's how close to the inside. It's the only way he could get through there. He's probably a little bit bummed that Langston didn't lose more time right there or go off the track, because he went in there with full intentions of making contact. Mitch Payton of Pro Circuit Kawasaki. Mike Brown has been his standard bearer after an off season, really, of Supercross action with so many of Mitch's riders getting injured. He's so glad to have a guy like Mike Brown who tries so hard. He's got such an aggressive, that Ryan Hughes type style, but he's steady. One item that makes this rivalry so interesting, I think, it's a battle of the ages, because number 100 Mike Brown is 10 years older than the 19-year-old South African Grant Langston. Take a look at the track. Well, today the finish line has been moved to right after the first corner there. It's just after the mechanics area, one corner sooner than usual. And today Davey Coombs takes us around on one of Mitch Payton's bikes. Into a slow left-hander here. Always go power. Uphill double. Pretty easy to do right now, but later on there'll be ruts all over that thing. Now here's the big downhill double. They got to jump out of the darkness almost, down to the side.
into a sweeper here. Now the supercross. This stuff's all pretty easy for these. When you're my age, not so easy. Let me try another line on this guy. Now this would come out of the open. There's two ways you can do it. Far inside, far outside. I'll try the far inside. It's a shorter line. So look at the braking bumps down here. And get down the bottom, it's a big kicker. Little off camber. Right-hander. Switch back left. Roll around here. Now back into the real part where it gets hard. They have a real big tail top here. It's actually pretty easy to do. However, by the end of the day, well, it won't be so easy.
Back to the action in our first moto. Mike Brown has taken over the lead in the first lap from Langston, but Langston has stayed right with him, adding pressure the entire distance. Down the hill they go. Let's go to Davey.
Well, Andrew, I think it's pretty safe to say it's on.
Oh, for sure. We said it was going to go down to the last race. Graham was looking good this morning in practice. He was a little bit faster than Brown. He got the start. Brown came through quickly, and I think he closed on him really quickly. And given Graham a bit of a wake-up call, but he's in there, and I think he's going to hang in there for a while, and we'll see what comes.
Well, with the title on the line, so much prestige for both factories as well as riders. And really, Mike Brown has to have this first one. That'll make things interesting going into the second.
Well, if he wins it, it's a 3-point gap back to second. They'll be tied. Brown has to have this moto to stay in this championship and to let Grant know, hey, I can get right back up here and tie this thing.
So Mike Brown and Grant Langston, the two title contenders, are going at it with Jessamine and Fonseca 3 and 4. Welcome back to upstate New York. It's round 11 of the 12-round AMA Motocross Series. Number 19, Doug Henry, back on a bike. It's good to see him on the track. He's on a 2-stroke Yamaha this time in the 125 division. The other race this year, his home track, he took an 8th on a 4-stroke in the 250 class.
Well, there was a time when Doug dominated this 125 class. The way Langston and Brown are doing out front, but it takes a long time to get used to that 125. You can come back and step onto a bike with a little bit more power. It's not quite as difficult as it is to step onto a 125 where the pace is higher. You got to have a lot more energy and aggressiveness to keep that thing on the pipe.
Former 2-time champion on a Honda, and then came back to the 250 championship on a Yamaha later on. Brandon Jessamine. And he's not moving.
That's the big plateau Davey talked about being pretty easy when he was doing it. He said it would get tougher as the day progressed.
Brandon Jessamine, a victim of awful starts in the early part of the season, finally gets a good start, and now he's down.
This is the time of year, too, when Brandon really shines. Seems to always be a good closer. This is really going to mess that up.
The battle for third, Fonseca currently owns that position. He's on a Yamaha 4-stroke. Lot retained behind him.
There's Fonseca's mechanic, Kenny Germain. It looks like Fonseca will be going to Honda next year, and from what I hear so far, it looks like his mechanic, Kenny's going to get to go with him.
Oh, that's a good combination. Hard worker, Kenny Germain. Let's check in on the condition of Jessamine. How about it, Davey?
Guys, take a look. The golf cart you see moving around, that's Brandon Jessamine sitting in the passenger seat. Jessamine caught a lip over there on the big tabletop. He was trying to scrub speed like you've been seeing Langston do. And unfortunately, he caught something on the jump, came up and bit him. A huge flying W out of the race for Brandon Jessamine.
Here's Tane in 4th, starting to put some pressure on Ernesto Fonseca. Fonseca's had a good ride so far.
He's been pretty steady, and this is the kind of track where I think the 4-stroke would really do well. All the torque and that loam, all the extra sawdust, and the loam they put on this track, it's a little bit harder for a 125 to dig through that than it is for a 4-stroke.
Ernesto with his best motocross in his career at Troy earlier this year, finishing up in 2nd overall. Davies with Tane's mechanic,
Tony, we're just watching Hot Rod. He's flying once again, man. The last few weeks have been amazing for you guys.
Yeah, for sure. He's really stepped it up. You know, I'm pretty happy with him. I think he's excited. He likes this track, and the Suzuki's running good, so I think we're looking pretty good.
How depressed were you guys when he hurt that shoulder at Southwick? I mean, up to that point, he was 4th in the standings.
Yeah, I was really bummed, you know, and we missed 3 races, and we only got like 3 points at Southwick, so that really hurt us. But we're back in the top 10 now, and we're looking to try to get 7th overall. I think that's about as far as we go, but he's really pushing for 7th overall in the championship.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Davey.
You know, 4 races ago, he was in 16th position, and Roderick Payne, after 2 podiums, 2 third-place finishes, is now tied for 8th in the points. Payne starting to get real close to Fonseca now. The Suzuki 2-stroke versus the Yamaha 4-stroke.
Well, besides the fact that I like the pressure that he's putting on Fonseca right now, trying to create an opportunity for himself, he's got a purpose. You know, a lot of these guys are just riding out the season. And even Fonseca, you know, I'm not putting him down or anything, but I know he's just kind of looking forward to 2002, going, okay, you know, what's that red team going to be like? And at least Tane's going, okay, 7th, which may not sound that impressive. It's a goal. And you need to have that when you go racing.
Fonseca doing a little slipping and sliding. Payne looking for opportunity. Payne going to the outside. It's a good battle for 3rd. Out in front, it's Mike Brown and Grant Langston, the 2 title contenders. Moto number 1, 125 action. Our leader's Mike Brown of Pro Circuit Kawasaki, and number 111 right behind him. Grant Langston on the KTM is starting to get serious about maybe retaking the lead that he had in the early part of the first lap.
I've talked about this strategy before, and this may be what's going on with Langston right now. He's just waiting, trying to stay close enough, keep the pressure on, and bother Brown until the very end where he can make a pass and not give Brown the time to retaliate.
Coming up on the lap rider, Mike Brown, looking pretty steady.
Just soaking up that roof, too. Those rocks hurt. Just those wood chips hurt. Throw some rocks in with that, and Langston's getting it all. But he's got to stay that close to have a chance to take advantage of anything that Brown might do wrong here. Pressure him into a mistake, or if he leaves the door open somewhere, he's got to be closer.
Brownie making a mistake. Let's go to Davey.
And it looks like Grant is starting to pick up the pace.
Yeah, he's starting to ride good. When Brownie caught up to him, I think it put him out a little. He's regripped, found himself again. He's finding some good lines out there. I think he's just biding his time, and he's going to wait till the end and then make his move, I hope.
We've seen Mike make a little bit of contact. Do we expect the same from Grant towards the end of the race if he gets a shot?
You know, Grant's only going to dish out what's given to him. You know, if Mike rides good and hard, Grant's going to ride the same. But if Mike starts using dirty tactics, Grant's just going to do the same back to him. Thanks.
That's the way it should be. You know, race clean, but if that's how it was in my day. Of course, we had some pretty gnarly T-bones and takeouts and on purpose putting guys over the fence. But, you know, you didn't do that until it really mattered. It came down to something like this, final lap or whatever for a championship, and then once you get it done to you, you're giving it back.
You saw the white flag. This is the final lap. Where will Langston try to make a move? Unlike Brown. Brownie's had the lead and held it nicely ever since early in the first lap. Brown coming from 59 points down to compete for this championship. Oh, Langston! Brownie goes down. The front wheel ticked by Langston as he came by.
That surprises me a little bit. 2 things leading up to that. Brown didn't jump that entire tabletop, and he went wide in the corner. So, although Langston came across and deliberately hit him, Brown, he left the door open. Same thing Fonseca did when Brown took him out in Redbud earlier in the season. Watch right here. Brown goes wide. See the berm right here that Langston's in? That's where Brown should have gone. That's where Langston needs to go, but he's like, forget it. I'll go over that, cut off the line of Brown, and if he goes down, well, that's just too bad. Remember, Brown made contact with Langston early in the race for the lead. Probably wishes that Langston would have gone down now.
So Grant Langston retaking the lead on the final lap. Came into this race leading by only 3 points. Would pick up 3 more if it finishes just the way we have it now.
I'll tell you what, if this continues, this rivalry, especially now you got Ricky Carmichael in the middle of it. He's on the starting line for the 250s coming up next, but you know Ricky can be a dirty rider. And he's probably instilling a little bit of that in Brown, going, don't give that guy an inch, man. Take him out. And if he would have done it a little bit more aggressive, as a matter of fact, in this corner right here early in the race, he wouldn't have had Langston to contend with there at the end. So it's kind of do unto others before they do unto you.
A 9th moto win for Langston. One of the interesting factors during this season is that Langston and Brown had rounds where they secured no points at all.
Now they might go a couple rounds in the pits. I wouldn't be surprised if it came to that.
The checkers for Langston. Langston now with 3 straight moto wins down the backstretch, and Mike Brown securing second, drops 3 more points behind him. So Brownie going into that second moto here in the second to the last race of the season will be 6 points down to Grant Langston. There's Langston, Brown, Fonseca holding on to 3rd place. Ramsey moving up, and Larry Ward rounding out the top 5. Let's hear from Brownie.
Mike, you have him the whole way. What happened?
I just got outside over a stupid move for me, but I don't know what to say, you know. Stupid move.
How about the second moto? I mean, you get a chance to retaliate, redeem yourself. That's a heck of a way to lose in a national championship fight like this.
Yeah, it sure is, you know. That's 3 points I lost. I could have been tied, but that's all right. I'm ready to go. I got good starts. My Bridgestone hooked up good off the gate. My Kawasaki's running awesome. I just up to me now.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
Meanwhile, Grant Langston comes out on top as the emotions continue to boil in this championship race. Let's go back to Davey.
Grant, that was an amazing race. What happened on the last lap?
I mean, I got real close. Every time that little section, I seemed to gain on him, and he hit me real hard in the beginning of the race, and you know, that's how he rides, real aggressive, and you know, I just returned the favor on the last lap. He let the door open, I came up the inside, he hit my rear wheel, and you know, that's how racing goes. He would have done the same thing, and you know, just happy to pull off the win.
As far as the second moto goes, do you expect him to come back firing?
Oh, definitely. I mean, he always rides like that, and you know, he'll hit me again and again if he gets a chance, and you know, that's aggressive racing, so that's how racing goes. We both want to win, and you know, as long as it doesn't get dirty.
Well, I'll let you go prepare for that moto.
Thanks for that.
Meanwhile, the good steady ride for number 25 on the Yamaha 4-stroke, Ernesto Fonseca. Ernesto hanging on to that 3rd spot in the first moto. Davey?
For Ernesto, it seemed like you spent that whole moto fighting with Roderick Thane.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things that kept me going. I think it would have been worse if I was by myself, but it definitely helps somebody to push you from behind, and I think it worked.
At the end of the moto, your teammate Nathan Ramsey came up on you. That was almost a photo finish.
Yeah, it was close, and I think I needed those points, so I was going for it. Kind of a ballsy move, but, you know, that's racing.
Good ride, Ernesto.
Thanks.
Up next on the gate, the 250s, where Ricky Carmichael is looking for his 5th consecutive national motocross title. Can he do it? We'll find out when we come back.
For DirecTV or Dish Network.
For the first time since 1996-97, we've got a chance to see a rider win back-to-back 250 titles. Ricky Carmichael right there, focusing, getting ready for this 11th round in the 12-round series. He could already wrap up the 250 title. Kevin Windham proved at Washougal that the former 4-time winner in 250 motocross is back into contending status. They're next to each other on the gate, David Bailey, but I don't think they've looked at each other one time.
Well, Kevin for sure hasn't, not even close to even acknowledge the fact that Ricky's even sitting there. A couple times Ricky's looked over at him and he hasn't gotten much back, so now he's just keeping to himself.
Been quite a season for young Tim Ferry as well, in 3rd place on the Suzuki point standings. There you see the 50-point spread, Ricky Carmichael and Kevin Windham. John Dowd, the top privateer. The spotlight, though, on number 4, Ricky Carmichael. For 5 consecutive years, can he win at least 7 national events. It's never been done before. Davey?
Well, this is it. Ricky Carmichael stands on the edge of history once again. This time he's got a 50-point lead on Kevin Windham. All he has to do is beat him straight up today to win his 5th straight outdoor national title. 3 in the 125 class, 2 in the 250 class. Windham, number 14, the only person with a mathematical chance. But I think right now the 2 newly named Team USA teammates are just going to go out and see who can win this race and forget about the championship.
Only twice Ricky Carmichael has not made the podium this year. Once a lowly 4th, and the other one in 5th. As we take a look at the Suzuki starting grid, Carmichael, Windham, Tim Ferry. Ferry, probably the most improved rider on the circuit this year. Sebastien Tortelli trying to recover from a concussion, and David Vuillemin. Ezra Lusk looks like he's going to Kawasaki next year. The privateer Robbie Raynard with Travis Preston. As we go down the rest of the 40-rider field here for the 250s in Binghamton, New York.
They had a little bit of a holdup a while back. You saw Ricky with the goggles on. He took them back off. Now they got things fired up. Goggles back on. They're warming the tires. And that inside spot has proven to be pretty good. Last time I raced here, I started there both motos. Pole shot at both times.
That's where Langston and Brown were placed. Ricky Carmichael and Kevin Windham trying to keep the back tire warm. And we're ready to go. Moto number 1 of the 250s underway. Carmichael, a great start on the inside. And John Dowd, who got both pole shots in the last race, to the outside, but he slips and slides, and Carmichael takes the early lead. Look out. He's in good position now with Tortelli right behind him. Kevin Windham, number 14. Dowd on the right. He's number 16. 17 is Robbie Raynard. Good clean start for the 250s. Carmichael in front of Tortelli.
Oh, Carmichael does a little washout there coming down the hill hot, laying it into the corner. Now look at these guys. They jumped that whole plateau. Ricky's got his hands full. Right behind him, the 2, other than Ferry perhaps, the 2 fastest guys on the circuit, Tortelli and Windham. They're not going to let him get away. They're going to try not to anyway, but that's what he's been doing all year. These guys are getting desperate, though.
Tortelli's been on the podium 5 times this year, but he's had a few races that have just taken him right out of contention.
Listen to Ricky, just wide open. I mean, I keep saying that like it's something new, but it just amazes me how fast this guy goes and how much he's on the power all the time, even in the bumps.
The off-camber, all the rocks flying, and Ricky already is starting to pull a big lead.
That's wide open. I mean, down that hill to have your bike sounding like that, and believe me, that bike is potent. It takes so much strength to be able to keep that bike going exactly in the line you want.
Still Tortelli in second. There you saw Ferry in front of Dowd.
Dowd had a pretty good start, but drifting wide like that in the first corner, you really give up a lot of spots. Looks like he gave up a couple more in this first lap. Raynard right there, getting ahead of Ferry. Raynard kind of getting warmed up for that race at Delmont, where he's had a lot of good luck.
He's had a lot of success at Delmont. Another look.
Yeah, he does a little downshift right before that last little burst of the throttle. He's never in the wrong gear. It surprises me a little bit that he's able to have the bike sounding that good all the time, because he's one of the few guys in the circuit that doesn't leave his fingers out there on the clutch all the time.
Windham, Raynard, and there's Ferry, number 15.
That's an inside line.
Here comes a possible move with Ferry on Robbie Raynard.
Yeah, Ferry held that line so tight up there that I know how hard that is to do. And he's actually fast through there. Usually when you hold it that tight, you got to creep around there a little bit. He made up time.
Robbie Raynard off to one of his better starts. His best overall performance this year was at Budds Creek. He took a 7th overall.
Well, that's a technical track, and here we are again at a technical track. The harder the better for Raynard. He likes to be able to have to pick lines and think a little bit more. Right there, Ferry just outthought him going down to that line. He had a little bit better power on that 4-stroke to hold a tight line up the hill to set that up. But I really like Raynard's riding ability. It's just that looking at the tracks nowadays, and I talked about how beautiful this place is, and there's less rocks. There's more loam on it. They're not as rough as they used to. Those big bumps going down that hill, it used to be like that all the way down there. I could break out a video from 1984, 5, 6. And this track didn't look as nice as it looks now, and that would have been a lot better for a guy like Robbie.
Well, Ricky Carmichael really hasn't pulled way out in front of Sebastien Tortelli yet. But Carmichael dominates here in the first moto of the 250s. We'll be right back with more action from upstate New York in a moment.
Attention. The preceding space was a demonstration of the KX domination system. In the event of an actual race, it would have been followed by the roaring crowd and the new champ holding an oversized cardboard check. For further instructions and information, contact the authorities at Kawasaki.com or 1-800-661-RIDE.
You might think all alarm clock radios are the same, but when the power goes out...
Welcome back to Binghamton, New York. Art Ekman, David Bailey, Davey Coombs bringing you the action. Ricky Carmichael looking to nail down his second consecutive 250 outdoor championship.
He's probably mad right now that Tortelli is still this close. Ricky likes to come from way behind or else get out front, and even in the first couple of laps, just disappear. Anytime somebody can hang with you for a little while like this, gives them a little bit of hope. Ricky doesn't want to give anybody any hope. He doesn't want to give anybody anything. He just crushed McGrath this year, and he's done it to everybody in the outdoors. And he doesn't want to end his season by giving these guys anything they can believe in going into next year.
Tortelli's last podium was Unadilla when he took a second place. He won the overall at Hangtown, and has showed great speed at times. But there's a lot of bad luck, a few mistakes, some bike problems as well. And he's always fighting from behind, it seems like.
Yeah, he's had a really tough year. And I really thought he had a good year coming to him, you know. I still think he should just get rid of that number. I'm not the only one.
Number 13, Tortelli starting the season with a second at Glen Helen. Got his win in the second round, then a third at Mount Morris. He was in the points lead by 6 points. He's been in the points lead of this series every year for the last 3 years at some time during the series.
Yeah, never when it matters most. And a lot of the guys know that. Little bobble right there, and you know what? You don't get that back. Ricky will pull out about half a second because of that mistake and keep it.
And Kevin Windham right behind him will pick up some time.
Yeah, Tortelli just looks up the track, and you can see Carmichael inching away. So that puts him in a position to be even a little bit more desperate, try even harder. And that's when those kind of mistakes show up, when you're riding a little bit beyond your capabilities.
There's Ferry in fourth.
Real impressed with him this year. Ever since that race in Salt Lake, you know, he was on the radar screen before that, but that's where he really was on my mind. The kind of race he had there, he had a good shot at winning that thing. Dowd getting a little sideways right there, got on the power too early, but ever since Salt Lake, then coming into Vegas when McGrath and Carmichael had their great battle out front, you know, no one really cared about what was going on behind them, but it was Ferry in third, scooped up that to the podium, and he's been strong ever since.
There goes Dowd, number 16. You hear the guttural sound of that 4-stroke. Let's check in with Racer X's Davey Coombs.
Joining us for this week's Kawasaki bike setup from Broome Tioga is Dan Worley, the factory mechanic for Stephane Roncada. Dan, what do you have going for this week?
Well, with the ruts and rocks at Broome Tioga, we're going to have to run a 20-inch wheel with increased tire pressure to help keep the wheel in the ruts, but still good on the slippery stuff. Next one, at least, with the big downhills, got to stiffen up the suspension to make sure the bike tracks straight. And with the rocks and ruts, once again, we're going to have to run a double-wall pipe just to help keep the pipe safe from getting dented.
How are the rocks out there?
Actually, this year they've done a really good job, but they're going to come up as the race goes on.
All right, better safe than sorry. That's Dan Worley with this week's Kawasaki bike setup.
Oh, he's got a career in broadcast, maybe.
Yeah, Dan does a good job at that. Sometimes the mechanics get a little nervous. You know, they're like, oh, I wish I could do that over.
His rider, Stephane Roncada, you see here behind Raynard.
You know, Roncada's first year in the 250 is Supercross. I expected him to do a little bit better than he did, but outdoors, it's right about where he should be, just at the tail end of all the really good guys, getting the experience he needs to be a contender next year.
His third place at Unadilla, his best result of this season. We'll be right back.
Now.
Chevy Trucks AMA Motocross is brought to you by Yamaha, makers of fine motorcycles and ATVs. Nobody's more in tune with motorsports than Yamaha. Back to the action here in our first 250 moto from Binghamton, New York. Ricky Carmichael continues to lead. The battle right here, right now, is with Robbie Raynard, number 17. He's got John Dowd right behind him on the KTM 520.
Looks like Raynard's chest protector strap may have come undone. There's something flapping there, and if that's the case, it bothers you a little bit. That 520's got some power. Look at the gap he closes right there. He sets up the pass, too. That's the same place as Ferry was able to work his way around Raynard. Raynard needs to cover that line a little bit better. If he's at a disadvantage with power, he needs to cover that inside a little bit. Make him pass him somewhere else.
Kevin Windham and John Dowd have won both at this track in 125s and 250s, and John Dowd has taken 2 250 races here. That was in 94 and 97. So this is one of Dowdy's favorites.
Windham around that tree over that downhill double. Beautiful. Perfect timing. A little better than Ferry. Ferry ducking for the roost clear back there. Places in this track where you can see all those rocks popping up. That'll get worse throughout the day, and that roost will hurt. If Kevin drops his position to Ferry, he's going to feel it.
Kevin has worked tremendously hard this year, shaking the uncertainties from his mind to really post an outstanding season. His worst finish of the season is 6th. That was only because his bike threw a chain while he was running second. Let's go to Davey.
Allie, we're watching Kevin running third. First of all, Ferry's right behind him, moving hard.
Yeah, I don't know what his deal is. He just slowed down. He was running 211s, and he went up to 214s now. I don't know what happened.
Well, that was going to be my second question. He's let go of Carmichael and Tortelli.
Yeah, I guess those guys are on it, and he must be off a little bit.
Yeah, I sure like Allie's attitude. He's got a good poker face. He does get that little grin when Kevin's doing well, but you know, for being an ex-rider, you expect to see him out there with a pit board yelling and screaming like Paul Delorier or something, but he's pretty calm.
Kevin Windham holding off Tim Ferry well.
Well, Kevin caught him pretty quick, but it looks like Kevin has responded to it, going, you know, I don't want to get roosted by that 4-stroke, or I need these points. You know, he can put himself in a position for the overall if he can stay up there in third. Once he dropped to 4th, he pretty much give that up.
For those of you just joining us here in the first moto of the 250 action, the winner of the first 125 moto was Grant Langston on the last lap. Mike Brown in second. An all-exciting second moto coming up after this one as Ricky Carmichael simply dominates here in our first 250 moto, with Tortelli now starting to slip back. Windham, Ferry, Roncada rounding out the top 5 on our field summary.
Well, you really see the difference in aggressiveness, and you know, when you go from the battle with Ferry and Windham, they're riding great, they're doing everything smooth, but when you go to Ricky, man, it's just another pace.
There have been 11 riders win 250 titles in Supercross and Motocross in the same year. Ricky's trying to do that, of course, right now. But when it gets down to the elite numbers, when you add the Motocross the Nations title to the mix, only Hannah, Jeff Ward, Rick Johnson, and David Bailey won both 250 titles and a Motocross title in the same calendar year.
Well, good. That's one record that little creep hasn't passed me in yet. I'm sure he probably will catch me, though.
Johnny O'Mara was invited to test ride Honda's 2002 bikes. He's the subject of our Honda profile.
Well, got a special invite to try the new 2002 Honda 125, and was very excited to be the guy they chose to do the riding on it today.
We changed the whole intake system, air box, air boot, carburetor, reef valve.
Yeah, I liked it. You know, I've always been a 125 specialist, so you know, anytime I get a chance to ride anything new, that's, you know, kind of before anyone rode it, feels super good. I was very impressed with the suspension, the handling, the cornering. Wish I had something like that in my day, you know, like 15 years ago when I was racing, but it was very good. I was truly impressed with the bike in 2002.
We've added both ends of the power band, more bottom, more top. We've decreased the weight by 6 pounds.
I tell you, I'm really impressed with the handling. That's came a long way since my day, so probably put that on the top of the list. The handling's just phenomenal. You could just, seems like you could about hit anything, and they're more forgiving than they were in our day.
We've changed the chassis flex and rigidity, so it's a little softer on bump impacts.
Suspension, braking, cornering, stabilities, you got everything now. It's a great package for about anybody that's going to ride these days, up from a beginner to a novice, intermediate, professional. It's all there.
And just pretty much everything is different about the bike except the transmission.
I would have liked to have something like this, but you know, I was part of the generation that gave the guys what they have today. Is part to do with the guys like myself and Barnett and Wardy and Glover and those guys that, you know, we kind of paved the road, you know, for the guys now.
You could tell that if he rode a lot right now, he could get right back in there.
No comeback. I'm over that. Just leave it at that. Good old memories from the past.
Welcome back to 250 action in the penultimate round of the AMA Chevy Trucks Motocross Championships, and it's Ricky Carmichael trying to win the title before that final race, as he's done several times.
Lapping Travis Preston right there. Must feel pretty awkward for these guys that are close to the top 10 to be getting lapped by Ricky well before the end of the race, and to have him fly over their head like that over stuff that you struggle to just jump the way they're jumping it. I can remember that, having the good guys come by me when I was just getting into the professional ranks, just feeling like, man, I'm never going to be that good.
Well, RC, if he wins this race, would be tied with Jeff Ward and Rick Johnson, second on the all-time AMA national title list for championships. Brock Glover is atop that list with 6 national titles. But the way Ricky's going and the age he is, I wouldn't be surprised to see him top that. Earlier, we got his impressions about raising the bar with a possible 5th consecutive motocross championship.
I think 5 national championships in a row would be excellent to put in my book of championships. It's a lot of winning races and a lot of pain and suffering, that's for sure. You know, I think outdoors is really tough mentally and really, really tough physically. The tracks are so rough these days, and the competition is getting so tough. And if I'm able to wrap this 5th one up in a row, it would mean a lot to me, you know. And I consider myself a better outdoor rider than supercross rider. I don't know why, but 5 titles would be unbelievable.
I don't know, David. Is it safe to assume that he'll win the title this year? And we've seen some bizarre things happen in motocross.
Yeah, but he's got such a good lead now and such a cushion. Plus, you know, when you look at a rider on a roll like this, and I can't imagine anything bad creeping into his program. Everything has gone his way all year, indoors and out, and I can't imagine that stopping anytime soon. Probably some of the other riders thinking somewhere along the line he's going to have some bad luck. It usually goes the other way.
Checkered flag for Ricky Carmichael, winning the first moto here at Binghamton. A first step taken to winning another championship. 13, Tortelli holding on to second place in front of Windham. And it was Tim Ferry and Stephane Roncada rounding out the top 5. Not a race that Mike LaRocco really wants to remember. Let's go down now to Racer X's Davey Coombs.
Ricky, that was a very impressive start-to-finish win.
Thanks a lot, Dave. I tell you, the Bridgestone tires hooked up great off the concrete start. I tell you, I look back and I've seen Sebastien and Kevin, and we're the 3 guys that's been doing pretty good this series, other than Sebastien had a couple bad races lately, and it was good to see him up there. He was riding really good, and he kept me honest. Glad that there was a guy in between me and Kevin for the points.
That's right, and speaking of the points, Kevin got 3rd. All you need is a 3rd in the next moto, and you have your 5th straight national championship.
Well, I tell you, Davey, I need to go out there and try to do the best that I can and get another good start like that, and hopefully I don't make any mistakes and my bike stays together, and try to get another championship. But those guys are riding really good today, and I tell you, I had to ride hard the whole race.
Good ride, Ricky.
Thanks a lot, David.
Of his 13 moto wins, 8 have come on event sweeps. One wonders if he can do it again today. Tortelli in second place, and a good steady ride for Sebastien.
Well, Sebastien, we watched the whole moto. The lead between you and Ricky barely fluctuated. 4, 5, 6 seconds. But his first couple laps, he got you.
Yeah, you know, Ricky was great out there. You know, he was running great, and I just gave the best I had out there. And I guess he has some better lines, and I don't think about it for the second moto and try to come back and be faster than what I was.
I can tell that you're completely over your concussion now after what we saw at Washougal. Looks like Sebastien Tortelli's 100% again.
Yeah, you know, kind of Millville was my first race back, and I got some bad starts, so I couldn't show my speed. But, you know, today, you know, I feel great, and, you know, my trainer, Yannick Kervela, and all the team, you know, my mechanic, Chandru, everybody is doing a great job, you know. And so we're pushing hard until the end of the season, and hopefully they're going to be good for the Supercross season.
All right, good luck in the second moto.
Thank you.
125's at the gate, and the rivalry rages on. Mike Brown losing the lead in the last lap to Grant Langston in the first moto, taking a second place, now moving 6 points behind the points leader. Here's how it happened. The second moto. Will revenge take place? With only 3 motos left on the season in the 125 action, this moto, the second 125 moto at Binghamton, New York, is vitally important in the points race to Mike Brown and Grant Langston. Langston right there on the KTM next to Mike Brown as we get set for our second moto. Langston leads by only 6 points over Brown. Langston on the inside. Ramsey on the outside, along with Ford. Langston came out of it, looked like second place. Yes, he's right behind. And there's Brown. Brown bar to bar. Brown got aced out on the start, but he's right back, and he passes Langston into second place. Whoa, what a move by Mike Brown. Brown behind Ramsey, and Larry Ward has taken third. Here comes Brown to the inside. Mike Brown takes the lead. Let's go to Davey Combs.
Thanks, guys. I'm down here with AMA Pro Motocross Manager Duke Finch. Duke, I know you had a private meeting with Mike Brown and Grant Langston. What did you tell them?
I told the guys, let's go out and race rather than bouncing off one another. Whoever's champion, let's be proud of being champion because you beat the other guy, not because you were the last guy that got knocked down or didn't get knocked down.
Did you talk to them at all about any penalties that might be incurred if they keep it up?
I told them if they flagrantly took a rider out, that I'd gladly take that race away from him. At 25 points, the championship's over in a hurry.
Last question, how did each rider take it?
Very good. They both, they're a pair of little pit bulls. They both smiled, they shook hands, and I said, let's go racing, and that's what we're going to do.
Thanks, Duke.
Thank you.
So the guidelines are set and fairly clear, David.
Well, I think it's a great time for Duke to get in there and prevent this from getting ugly. Because these guys, you know, it's going to keep one-upping each other. And when you got this much at stake, I mean, the championship is probably going to equate to about $250,000 for these guys, plus your place in the record book. So it's important.
Duke Finch, his wife Sony, great experience. As we see the battle between Langston and Ramsey. Langston now fairly easily as Ramsey has problems down there deep in the rut.
That was a gutsy move coming from the outside. All Ramsey would have had to do was one more blip of the throttle, and Langston would be parked back there right now. But he knows that he's got to get around. He can't afford to be behind a rider that he's a little bit faster than for any more than a half a lap, or Brown will be gone.
Emotions are running high in that mechanics area, Davey.
Steve, a much better start for Mike this time.
Yeah, it's a great start. And, you know, to make it a little bit better for us is we got Larry Ward between us, so hopefully we can capitalize with Larry holding Grant back a little bit.
I saw the look on Mike's face when he came to the gate. He looks like he's all business. He looks like he was awful upset with what happened at the end of the first moto.
Yeah, he was. I mean, you know, Mike gave him a little bit of a nudge up the top of the track here. You know, I'm a bit disappointed in Grant as well. I mean, Grant didn't need to take him down, but, you know, that's motocross, and hopefully we'll pick up some points out of this one.
Larry Ward with a fine season after getting caught up in the numbers game in Supercross, not having a ride, coming back here with Moto XXX. Larry Ward with Langston right behind him. It's nice to see the resurgence of his career.
You know, I've said it quite a few times this year, but I really admire the way he was able to go out and do some other things in his life, you know, and kind of put motocross down for a little while, get his pilot's license, do some hunting. And know, get relaxed, recharge his batteries, as McGrath would say, and come back to this with an opportunity to ride a bike that seems to be performing well in this class, and to do as well as he did. To be able to win a national in 3 different decades is pretty darn impressive.
DGY also helping out. They help a lot of top privateers out over the years. Larry Ward, number 10, an important factor as far as Mike Brown is concerned.
Yeah, the longer Brown notices him back there, the better he's going to feel. As soon as Langston can make a pass, if he can, on Ward, I think he can close the gap up to Brown, just because he has to, the motivation. He won't be getting that roost off the 4-stroke.
Larry Ward with a terrific mid-season, a second place at Budds Creek with a 2-2, and then a great victory, overall victory at Red Bud the next week.
A little bit of a stumble at Washougal, but then he rebounded with a second place in the second moto. I thought he was going to start another string of good finishes, but...
Here goes Langston to the inside. And Grant Langston now in second place, ready for an assault on Mike Brown. Early in the first moto, we saw Mike Brown just shoot by everybody after about a 6th place start. Well, now we get a chance to see the test being put to Grant.
I think sometimes that really helps, too, is because you get in a position in the beginning of the race where you've just got to ride just out of your mind to get up where you need to be. And then that kind of sets the tone. You're able to ride that pace pretty much the rest of the race. And that's what Langston's settled into right now. Brown may have a problem with it.
The rivalry is present once again. We'll be right back with more 125 action.
A great gift to order now.
The Chevy Trucks AMA Motocross Series is brought to you by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and ATVs. This is where the action is, Binghamton, New York, as Mike Brown and Grant Langston battle it out front. We go back in the pack in a battle for 7th place. Nick Way, Brock Sellards, Way on the Yamaha, Sellards on the KTM. I think it's interesting right now to reflect back, David, a little bit on the 4-stroke situation in the 125s. Everybody thought, hey, you get to the outdoors, look out. But we've got the points leaders on 2-strokes, Brown and Langston.
Well, I have a feeling that if you put the points leaders on a 4-stroke, then we'd be looking at 4-strokes out front. Since the Kawasaki doesn't make one, neither does KTM in that division. But, you know, I've been back and forth on 4-strokes. The only thing I don't really like about it is that it is a controversy because of them being in the 125 class. Now, 4-strokes are great. My son rode one, loved it. I've talked several of my friends into riding one. If I could still ride, I'd probably ride one. O'Mara told me he rode a 426 and loved it. He goes, you could be in any gear anywhere and just have the power to do what you want. It's just that in the future, you know, I'd like to see more 4-strokes in a separate class for that. As far as right now, it's difficult to get around a 4-stroke. You know, Langston had a little bit of a tough time trying to get around Larry Ward because they make different power in different places. But in the end of a lap, I think it comes out about the same. 4-stroke's better in spots, but in others, you have to muscle it around a little bit more, as Fonseca has told me before.
Our hats off to adjusting to 4-strokes, but also the riding skill of Grant Langston and Mike Brown on the 2-strokes, as well as the power plants they've been supplied from KTM and Kawasaki. In the battle for 8th, Fonseca, he's only got 1 podium on the year. That was at Troy, but that, I think, kind of misrepresents his skill as a rider. 2 races in a row. Hangtown and Mount Morris, he had 3rd place finishes in the first moto and came back with a 35 in the second moto at Hangtown and a 29 at Mount Morris because of motor problems. That'll take you out of the hunt real quick for a podium. This week's Suzuki Flashback takes a look into the future by looking back at this year's Loretta Lynn's Amateur Championships. Suzuki was well represented at this year's event, and among the top up-and-comers was Brock Hepler, who swept his class and took home a championship for Suzuki. Another future factory rider is Shane Bess, who rode to a solid 2nd-place finish in the second moto of the 125A class. Here's another familiar name, Davey Millsaps, who finished 3rd in the first moto of the 85cc 9-13 class before a nagging injury forced him to the sideline. And Suzuki's Chase Reed took another moto win for his class. To see more of this talented group, head to Glen Helen in San Bernardino, California for the Suzuki RM Cup, September 15th and 16th. Back to live action here in Binghamton, New York. And we come out on a Suzuki, number 32, Roderick Payne. He's doing a pretty good job here in 5th place. Let's check in down in the mechanics area now with Racer X's Davey Coombs.
Tony, once again, Hot Rod's right in the thick of it. He's in 5th place with Scott Sheik behind him.
Yeah, Scott's knocking on his door pretty hard. I'd like to see my guy shake him. He needs to catch Ramsey, and I'm pushing him to try to get Ramsey.
At the end of that first moto, it seemed like he got frustrated trying to get around Fonseca. Is that what happened?
Yeah, that's what it looked like to me. He was eating a lot of Fonseca's roost, you know. His front end of his bike and his mouth and face was all covered up. So, I don't know. He probably needs to be a little bit stronger towards the end of the moto, but he tried hard. It was a good effort.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Scott Sheik of Plano Honda right behind Roderick Payne. And he's starting to put some pressure on him.
You know, I sure like Berlutti's attitude as well. Just like Ali, he's been around the sport for a long time, and he recognizes, you know, the reality of what Payne can do in this series and in individual motos and the amount of effort that he puts out. And he doesn't expect any more than that. You know, sometimes you can get the wrong impression from a mechanic, and I think Tony would be a great mechanic for any rider.
Number 105 on the Honda. Scott Sheik making the move to the inside. Can he make it stick on Payne? Yes, Scott Sheik moves up another notch. Let's go to Davey.
Now we're watching Scott Sheik. Your rider's put on a very inspired charge to 5th.
Yeah, he's been working really hard this year and had a little bad luck here and there, but I think that he's pulling together today. It's his home track, and, you know, he's been wanting to do it, been working hard.
How stoked was he to be coming back to New York? I mean, this is Scotty's home track.
He's always stoked to come back where his friends are at, and, you know, it's made a big difference. He's a different person here.
Thanks, Al.
Appreciate it.
Our leader still Mike Brown with Langston in 2nd place. As we take a look at Sheik, let's check out our Suzuki trivia question for today. Who's the only Suzuki rider to win 3 times at Binghamton? Our answer in a moment.
Things have changed, and so has Oceanic, breaking new boundaries with exciting new channels like Women's Entertainment. It's a new idea, a celebration of all the things women are, a destination station where women can relax, relate, and release. Times have changed, and so have you. Women's Entertainment. Coming this September to Oceanic.
They've been running 125s here in Binghamton, New York for 21 years. Which Suzuki rider won 3 times? Mark Barnett. The first 3 of 4 years. It was broken up only by Johnny O'Mara.
Yeah, Johnny stole one in '82, I think.
That's right.
Number 9. I remember. I was his teammate that year. That was my first year at Honda. Then the next year he was number 4, just like Carmichael, and he won a championship. So kind of neat going back to that segment as we watch Brown here. Looks like he's got a great pace going. It's kind of neat to see Johnny riding him. I mean, he looks just, I was there that day watching him, and he looks just as good as he always did. Said he was sore the next day, and he doesn't miss that part.
Can Mike Brown hold on to the lead against Grant Langston and win back the 3 points he lost in the first moto?
That's Carmichael. He just passed, pointing out the outside line. Jump all the way down that hill, rail the outside, jump the next plateau. If there's anything on the track that Ricky can point out for him, he will get over there and do it. It's pretty far from the starting line.
Mike Brown, a great story. Down 59 points at mid-season. Could be one of the greatest comebacks in 125 history should he win the title.
I don't know about you, Art, but after he had a couple of those problems, flat tire and a couple of those 38s, I really figured, well, you know, he's going to win some races, but you can forget about the title. It's unbelievable to think that he's still got a shot at it with all the... Oh, no!
He wants it, gets right back up again. Here comes Langston. Langston has taken over the lead on a mistake by Mike Brown. Well, it's really a wild thing that our points leader, Langston, didn't pick up a point in 2 motos this season, and the runner-up didn't score a point in 3 motos. And yet they're still at the top of the list.
Never give up. Perfect example of that. There's his mechanic. He's just received word on the radio that Brown went down. Brown went by one of the pro circuit personnel at the top of the hill right before he fell, as a matter of fact. But he got that word quick. He's going to get into this braking bump right here. You see the way he lays it into that. The suspension's going to come back the other way. He's also under braking. That may be why that back end rebounded the way it did. When you get on the brakes, the suspension doesn't work the same. Another look from the top of the hill. He lays it into that bump. Now watch the way he tumbles. He just kind of rolls sideways. There's a whole art to the way that you crash. Now, you know, his teammate, Shea Bentley, obviously doesn't roll right. Every time he falls, he gets hurt. Brown, every time he falls, he gets right back up. He had the presence of mind there to roll sideways and not just stick out a wrist and end up with an injury.
Advantage, South African, Grant Langston. Let's go to Davey.
Well, Steve, you guys just had another tough break. I know it was over the hill, but in case you haven't heard, Mike crashed.
Yeah, I heard over the radio. I mean, we just got to keep going. You know, Grant, anything can happen to Grant, so we just got to keep pushing forward and see what happens out from here on.
All right, tough break.
Thank you.
Meanwhile, Grant Langston is looking to sweep 4 straight motos like he did at the beginning of the season to take over the points lead. Much more crucial right now. Let's check in with Davey, who's over at the KTM camp.
Well, Andrew, suddenly everything has changed again.
Davey, when you look at the whole situation, Grant's dad said the same thing. It's going to come down to the last race and who's got nerves are still. And Grant was sitting there. I think he was going to look to put a move towards the end, but I mean, he wasn't even that close, and Brown went down, so obviously he's breaking up under pressure.
We've got about 10 minutes left. What are you going to tell Grant?
Just to focus on the track. There's some nasty breaky bumps out there, and he needs to keep pushing, but he needs to just have a good choice of lines.
That sounds awfully harsh, but you know what? I have to agree, Art. In the moments that really have mattered the most, coming down to the end, the first moto, Brown going wide, leaving the door open for Langston to come in there and make that pass for the first moto and get those valuable points. And again here to make a mistake. You know, if he didn't have that pressure right there, he may not have been pushing as hard down that hill. So the pressure is on. Maybe that's not what got to him, but it's what you would certainly think. Now Ward loses the front end. He's up quick.
Keeps that 4-stroke running.
That's going to help Brown, too, because while he's trying to recover from his crash, he had Ward pretty close until Ward made his mistake. Can't afford to lose another 2 points. What a disappointing day. I mean, he can look back at this and think, man, I had both motos right there in my hand and gave them away.
Led 23 laps today.
Now, he'd give up all that if he could lead the last couple. If it's just the last couple corners, you know, that's all that matters. You can see he's pushing as hard as he can. Those hay bales are just in the way. Breaking those things apart, trying to get back up there. That just never give up. See, if he pushes hard enough, maybe Langston would make a mistake. He could scoop up that. You never know.
Well, luck has its own current, too, and you've got 2 more motos remaining on the season after this one.
9 points, though, would be if it stays like this. And even if he won both motos in the final round, all that Langston would really have to do is just stay nearby. What a big disappointment that crash was.
Mike Brown, with his head down, though, tries to come back, and we'll be back in a moment. Second Moto 125 action from Binghamton, New York. This is the 11th round of a 12-round series. And once again, I think we're going to see for the second year in a row the 125 title coming down to the very final race in Delmont, Pennsylvania. Davey?
Guys, I want to show you something. Check out the board. One of the Pro Circuit mechanics putting out this for Casey Lytle. He is going to be lapped by Langston. Put that board out to let him know, maybe do all he can to slow Grant Langston down.
Can't blame him for that. You know, Langston's got teammates out there. And, you know, if you think about it, Brown doesn't really have as much help, but they're going to get a little from Lytle.
Congratulations to Larry Ward, able to stay up in third after slipping out. Kept that motor running, got right back on.
Well, what really set that up was, you know, besides Larry's been around a while and he rides well, he rode hard in those opening laps to try to stay with Langston and Brown. That opened up such a big gap over fourth. He could afford to fall again and still keep third.
Casey Lytle and Langston. Lytle about ready to get lapped. Langston Gosh, a third-degree separated shoulder at Southwick. It looked like it would take him out of the running. And doesn't have too hard a time getting by Lytle.
Looked like Langston gave him a little brake check up there at the top of the hill, a little look over, like, don't even try. I didn't really see Lytle do anything wrong there. And Langston's just letting him know, I'm not going to play that. It didn't work for Bonds, and it won't work for any of these other guys either.
Grant Langston on his way to another sweep.
Well, you can look at it as lucky, or you can look at it as keeping the pressure on and not giving up. I mean, I can think of a time when this guy had to stand on the sidelines at Bud's Creek.
That's right.
You know, I mean, it didn't look good for him either then.
And a key decision, not to go for surgery when everybody else was saying, hey, they get to it as quick as you can medically. And he came storming back from 44 points down, claiming the points lead after the last race.
One more lap. He's got a comfortable lead over Brown. You can see back behind him. He doesn't have the pressure, so he can afford to ride this lap careful if he chooses. Still goes for that downhill triple.
This will give him a 9-point lead going into the last race of the 125 season. Salutes the crowd.
Can't help but think of Houston when he starts doing stuff like that. Looked just about like that, only was looking to the other side. That's through the Supercross stuff, too. You might want to save that thumbs up for the checkered flag. This really matters now.
For the second time on the season, Langston has put together 2 moto sweeps in a row.
Before that, it was Brown, wasn't it? At Troy and Washougal.
That's right.
These guys are hogging all the moto wins, especially with Travis missing. The resolve of these guys is amazing. The problems they've had, the DNFs, and they've worked through all that. Imagine what it would be like if Travis had stayed healthy through this, to have a 3-way battle going, because Travis wouldn't let these guys get away. He'd be right there in the middle of it.
Or when there's a 3-man battle, too, you get all kinds of combinations. Makes it real interesting coming down to the end.
Just shoot the pit area. You see a lot of stuff on the pit boards if there were 3 riders involved. You got a lot of teammates out there to affect the outcome.
I think it's amazing for this young man from South Africa. After winning the 125 GP World Championship, he came quickly to America. He wanted to be where the action was, especially learn more about Supercross rapidly. And to do as well as he has outdoors, it's a great compliment to not only his skills, but also KTM. Look at there, Mike Brown, not that far behind if something should happen to Langston.
Well, Langston has cruised this last lap like I thought he might, and Brown is ride as hard as he can. He can afford to fall again and still hold off Larry Ward, so he's giving it everything.
Langston still saluting the fans, though. Looking back to see where Mike Brown is because he wheelies over the finish line. Grant Langston taking the checkers. Mike Brown drops 3 points more in back of the points leader. He's got to be a very disappointed young man.
That's right back to the pits, skip the interviews. I can understand his frustration right now.
Langston, Brown, Larry Ward hangs on to 3rd, with Ramsey moving up to 4th. Scott Sheik rounding out the top 5. Time to hear from the winner, Davey.
Well, Grant, it has been a very eventful day for you and Mike Brown, but just like the last race, you come out with a 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, Mark rode real well today. Today gave me a hard time, and I think our speed was very, very similar. It just depended on who made more mistakes, and you know, I pushed you know, a little bit towards the sort of the middle there, and I closed on him a little bit, and he made a mistake at the back, and he was kind of just in front of me, and he went down that back hill and just hit some big bumps and got a tank slap and went down, and you know, after that I could just cruise because this track's real easy to crash on, and once I had the lead, I just, you know, just kind of took it easy.
Well, going into the last round, you now have a 9-point lead. You have to feel comfortable with that, but at the same time, with all the contact you guys have been making, that's got to be in the back of your mind as well.
I mean, not really. I mean, Mark's an aggressive rider. I've raced against him for a few years now, and you know, he'll bump you real hard if he gets a chance, and you know, just got to limit those chances, get by him, and you know, don't allow him to get near me, and I think that's what it'll take.
Well, Grant, you're certainly finishing out the year the way you started with those 4 moto wins before you got hurt. You have to feel good about going into the last round.
Yeah, definitely, and at least I got a bit of a points gap now going to the final round, and you know, so even if he did beat me and I finished behind him, it's still good enough. So, you know, it's kind of peace of mind to know I got that little gap.
Keep riding.
Thanks a lot.
Advantage Langston as he takes the overall here at Binghamton with Mike Brown in second, Larry Ward in third. But like in tennis, even though you take a serve point away from a great player, look out, because the other one could come right back.
Well, Brown has nothing to lose in the final round, and Langston's got to ride a little bit careful. Sometimes that can be the difference.
And the Suzuki point standings show us that Langston has that important 9-point lead over Brown, with the battle going on still for third place in the 125-point situation. From high-stakes emotion to history in the making, let's go to Davey.
Well, right over my shoulder is Ricky Carmichael. And that is the man who's got a date with destiny. Carmichael, 1 moto away from winning what would be his 5th straight national championship. That's never been done before. No one's even won 4 in a row before. Keep this in mind for the second moto. The guy who was the runner-up, Sebastien Tortelli, is someone that Ricky's got to be clocking for the competition coming up in Belgium next month. That's the Motocross des Nations, a race that Ricky takes very seriously for Team USA. We will be right back with the start of the second 250 moto after this.
DirecTV or Dish Network.
Welcome back to Binghamton, New York. Ricky Carmichael is on the verge of winning his 5th national motocross title in 5 years. He's able to pull off the feat today. RC will have clinched 4 of his 5 titles right here at Binghamton.
The last 3 years I've been here, I've won a title, so I definitely have that in my head. You know, Kevin rides really good here. I'm taking that into consideration, and it's not going to be easy. You know, I believe I have to get a good start and try to put the Chevy Trucks Kawasaki up front. I think I have what it takes to do it. I'm going to carry the momentum I had from last weekend into this weekend. I'm going to give it 100% and try my hardest, and if I win, then I win. If I don't, then I'll take it to next weekend.
So what about the idea of riding the 125 at Delmont if the title is clinched here at Binghamton?
You know, I haven't really thought about it until this week, and everyone's been asking me if I want to, and you know, everyone's just counting on me winning this weekend. But for myself, I believe that I have a job to do, and anybody can be beaten, and I don't want to be beaten, and I'm going to do it at whatever in my power I can do to win, and then worry about the 125 class if I wrap the title up this weekend. But I'm not going to make any choices or decisions until that checkered flag flies in the second moto.
You know, I sure like the way he's approaching all of this. You know, he knows that he can be beaten. He knows that Kevin rides well here, and he gives all those guys plenty of credit. I think that, you know, the good head he seems to have on his shoulders as a result of having Johnny O'Mara and good people around him.
Not only is Ricky Carmichael looking for his 5th consecutive national title, for 5 consecutive years, RC will have won at least 7 national events during that time if he stays in front of Windham. We're off and running. Moto 2, the 250s. Another good break for Carmichael to the inside. There's Dowd to the outside, and Windham sneaks in there. Dowd and Windham bar to bar. Windham taking over the lead. Dowd fishtailing right in front of Ricky Carmichael. Whoa. And Ferry is in point.
Carmichael already just shoving Dowd to the outside, takes over second. He's all over Windham now.
Kevin on a string of 3 podiums, a 3rd at Troy, the 2 moto sweep win at Washougal, and a 3rd in the last race at Millville. He's headed toward another podium, but he certainly would like to take this moto. Whoa, look at this. Roncada number 21. You also have LaRocco's in that mess, trying to get unhooked from, looks like Jason Thomas.
Really thought that once LaRocco got on that 4-stroke, this is his 4th moto start on that bike. I thought he might be able to pick up his starts and stay out of that mess.
He started off riding that CR450F wonderfully well, actually, in the first race there at Millville on it, taking a 4th overall.
Look at Ricky trying to stay clear of the line and all that roost coming off of Windham's bike. He's been about that distance from Windham. He hasn't been able to get any closer. He just came down that hill so hard, he had to go a little bit wide there, lost some time. You know what? When you watch Windham versus Ricky, Windham rides a lot more perfect. So when he has to get a little bit squirrely, he backs out of the throttle a little bit. Ricky rides on the edge. So when he gets squirrely, he doesn't back out. He's used to that.
Carmichael ready to challenge Windham here in the second moto of the 250s.
See Windham wheeling over all the bumps. Ricky's like, the heck with it, I'll hit them all. I don't care. Oh, look at that. Windham can feel it.
Ferry moving up into third, but all the eyes are on this battle out front.
Ricky gets on the gas coming out of the corner at the exact same time Windham does, so that Windham never opens up a gap coming out of the corner.
Here comes Carmichael with a long lead, and to the inside. Back and forth we go. Ricky Carmichael has taken over the lead once again.
Well, if that doesn't just ruin all your hopes, I don't know what will. He just completely out-jumped, landed completely out on the flat, bottomed out. Then he hit the front wheel of Windham, almost hit it again, trying to cover the inside. Unbelievable.
There you see the riders on the summary up above as they cross the finish line. Roncada in 22nd after getting into that pileup. 40 riders in our 250 field.
Still never saw LaRocco come through there.
Dowd number 16, Tortelli number 13, battling for fourth.
Listen to the way Dowd gets on that power, just kind of rolls it on. There's so much of it. Nice smooth delivery.
The fourth moto of the day here in Binghamton, a rough track. We'll be right back with more 250 action. Welcome back, Art Eckman, David Bailey, Davey Combs in our second moto of 250 action. Ricky Carmichael, once again, like he did in the first moto, taking over the lead before the first lap concluded. Actually, right near the start-finish line this time, as we look back at the fourth place battle between Dowd and Tortelli.
Dowd pushing hard right there. You can see that when he gets on the power, he just kind of rolls it on. You see how much roost that thing throws. So for Tortelli, he's just getting showered with rocks. And when he gets on the power, he's got to clutch it and give it everything he's got to try to get up to speed and try to close the gap that Dowd opened.
You can really see it coming over that hill. Oh, look out! Tortelli goes flying.
Oh, that was not good. He face planted hard. It's not quite as bad as what happened to him in Troy, but he looks pretty stunned.
Tortelli has had some of the most spectacular crashes consistently I've seen since I've been covering Supercross and motocross.
Yeah, I didn't really see what he did to deserve that kind of a crash. Really not that many bumps there. Dowd went through there smooth.
Credit the volunteer flagman, too, getting right out there on the job.
Yeah, they're taking a little bit of chance. So those guys are coming over a blind hill. So they're out there in the middle to protect Tortelli.
Here's our leader, Ricky Carmichael, and look at the lead he's opened up already.
Well, I think he just ruined, you know, all the confidence of Windham. I mean, when you get passed like that, plus for Windham, it's like, what is he riding for here? You know, the title's gone. There's Shane Drew, Tortelli's mechanic. Oh, he hit his head hard. When he got sideways like that, he just got spit off. He didn't even have time to reach out or do anything to brace that fall. Here it is again. He gets a little sideways, and the back end swaps the other way, and bam. Yeah, that was a hard impact right there. Vuillemin saw the whole thing. Back end slides out and kicks all the way the other way. He didn't even have a chance, and he hit his head so hard. Lucky that they've got so much of that loam on this track. Now watch when Dowd comes through here. His rear wheel's going to hit a bump. See that little bit of dirt right there? It kicks up. Now when Tortelli gets there, that's what started his problems. But the back end swaps so far the other way, that surprises me. I know it caught him by surprise, and then the face plant.
Well, you see on that shot why there's so many arm, hand, and shoulder injuries as he tried to tuck him in as quick as he could.
That was just such a surprise that he was actually, it was kind of good because he was so loose.
Here comes Vuillemin to the inside of Dowd. Vuillemin with 1 win on the season. And that was back at Mount Morris on the 3rd round. Dowd getting caught up in the corner there, giving Vuillemin the advantage.
Just trying to do anything to get back in there and fight. I like that about Dowd. You know, he'll get past, he doesn't just give up at that. He'll try to get back up in there and test the guy and see if he really wants that pass bad enough. Sometimes you get by somebody and you relax a little bit. If they come back by, it takes you forever to get them again.
In the last 2 races, Vuillemin has placed 4th in the 2nd moto in both of them. We'll see if he can hold on once again.
Roadrunner is good because
you have a tremendous amount of power.
I can get phone calls while I'm online.
It's a great high-speed internet service.
Everyone knows the bird.
I can be online and my phone still rings.
Lots of power.
Boom. Boom. Easy as that.
That's a good thing. Anybody who has Roadrunner is pretty much way ahead of the game. The idea makes pretty good sense to me.
Get free installation now through September 30th. Call Oceanic today.
It's a good thing. If you got Roadrunner, you got a pretty normal life.
Beep, beep.
Hawaii's newest local yellow pages are here. The Paradise Pages. Larger text, more vibrant colors. Makes it easier to find everything you're looking for. Every month we'll ask you a question about what's inside the Paradise Pages. Answer it right and you could win lots of trips and prizes from these fine companies. That's right, you get your prize at Paradise.
Here's the leader, defending champion Ricky Carmichael, who's looking for his 7th win this season, and in doing so, would take the crown home once again. He's had a phenomenal season, David. Mount Morris was his worst overall with a 5th place finish. And that was a 13th in the first moto, coming back to win the 2nd moto. He's won 12 motos this year. Let's go down to the pit area now with Davey Coombs.
Chad, that was one impressive move he made on Kevin Windham.
I think my bike's about 3 feet longer after a landing like that.
Is that something you guys had talked about? Did he know he could make a pass there?
Not really. I think that was the heat of the moment passion deal, you know. Go for it or don't go for it at all.
With the thing you got at stake right now, this national championship, you worry about something like that. I mean, he must have gone 100 feet flat wheel landed.
Now, as long as my wheels don't break, I mean, this ain't his first rodeo. People always freak out because the rear end passes the front end and he may swap, but that's the kid's style. I mean, if he ain't all wide open the whole time, then he's not comfortable, so let him do what he wants to do.
Not his first rodeo. That's a good one. You know, you can count on Chad for the funny stuff. And here it is again. Watch Carmichael just flies to the flat while Kevin's over there leaving the door open, hitting the downside, doing everything right. Right there, it didn't matter. Carmichael just went faster for the pass and clipped his front wheel in the process. I think Kevin's just going, you know what, if you want it that bad, I just don't know if I want to take that many chances at the end of the season with the Motocross of the Nations coming up. You can't win the title anymore, pretty much. So I think Kevin at this point has just decided to play a little bit smart and not give it to Ricky, but when he passes you like that, it definitely ruins your confidence.
Earlier we heard Johnny O talking about the new bikes for Honda. What if they'd had suspensions like that in your day?
Well, we would have gone a lot faster. And if the tracks were this nice, we would have gone even faster still. You know, the tracks we rode on here where there was so much dust, you wouldn't be able to see that very well. You'd have to go, is that Kevin Windham? And wait till they got closer. Things have changed, but the power I think we had was about what they have today. We had a lot of power back then.
Kevin Windham, number 14. Still might have the honor, though, of being a runner-up in the 250 points chase. Second place in points would be the best Suzuki finish since Albie's championship at 99. But I think more so it shows us what Kevin Windham has inside himself and coming back during this motocross season.
You know, we look at his entire year, Supercross, I'm sure he would like to have done better here and there, but this is the whole season. He's been healthy, and he's had strong performances. His best outdoor season, going over for the Motocross of the Nations. I think, you know, you look at individual motos like this, and he's probably disappointed that he couldn't get up there and fight with Ricky a little bit more, but overall, it's pretty good. It definitely would build some steam heading into next year. This is his first year getting used to the new bike, so I would expect him to be fighting a lot more next year and probably make up the difference in speed.
These two have been at it for quite a while. John Dowd and David Vuillemin.
Another big difference in styles and in power plants. Dowd with all that horsepower and Vuillemin with all that finesse, the way he hops around the track.
Ferry all alone, a lonely ride in third right now. Let's check in with Davey Combs. Any new information, Davey?
Well, guys, with Sebastien Tortelli sitting on a hay bale over there, take this into consideration. Going into the 2001 Motocross Des Nations next month, Team France was the team most likely to challenge the USA with Tortelli, new world champions Mikel Pichon, and also Luigi Segui. Well, right there you're seeing France's MVP sitting this one out. He's talking to Dr. Steve Augustine. Tortelli has had another concussion earlier this year. We saw that big get-off that he had at Kenworthy's. This does not bode well for the French team at the Motocross Des Nations.
Does this give the favorites role to the Belgians on their home track?
Well, you know, Stefan Everts is going to be fast, but I'm just not sure if his supporting cast is going to be up to the task of competing with Windham, Carmichael, and Brown. We got a really strong team there, so I don't see any reason why we shouldn't win that again.
It's going to be exciting. I can hardly wait. John Dowd, David Vuillemin still going at it. Welcome back to Binghamton, New York. Round 11 of the 12-round AMA Chevy Trucks Motocross Championship Series. Ricky Carmichael out in front once again, looking to rewrite the record books as David Vuillemin and John Dowd just go back and forth battling it out.
Vuillemin's going to have some welts all over the front of him, all over his chest, his arms, chipped up helmet. Good thing he's got the double wall pipe. The rocks coming off of Dowd's bike. It's a 520. You know, I would imagine it's got as much, if not more horse. Oh, no.
It's way off the track.
And Vuillemin's like, thank God, finally. Well, he stayed on him and forced Dowd to have to make a decision real quick right there with the left rider, and he made the wrong one. Plus, the face of that double jump there is full of ruts, and Dowd just tried to choose one real quick way on the left, and he ran out of racetrack.
Looking for another sweep, Ricky Carmichael has eased up a bit.
Now, every time you hear him, he has got the bike right in the right part of the power band, in the right gear, always wide open. Look at that, gets the front end a little high, tries to lock the rear wheel and bring the front end down. Didn't really do much that time. Usually it'll drop the front end about a foot.
Ricky this year didn't take command of the points championship race until the 4th round. Then he put 5 wins back to back. Let's go to Davey.
Chad, it's almost done. Another championship for you and Ricky.
It's getting pretty close. I'm starting to get a few little nerves in my body, you know, the mechanic thing.
Did you ever thought it would turn into this? This is your 6th major title. We're doing that Supercross thing. You've broken just about every outdoor motocross record there is. I mean, when you started working with that 16-year-old kid from Florida, did you think he'd become this good?
I was always going to be a pain in my ass and not do nothing, really. Nah. Yeah, the kid's got so much talent and heart, and he hates to lose. I mean, and he's got a hell of a family behind him and support. So, yeah, I mean, it shocks me, but, you know, with God's help, you can do anything.
You know, you must have a heck of a mechanic, too. You guys never break down.
Why do people always say that crap to me? But I'll find some wood to knock on right here. But we just play it moto by moto and just hope to God they don't.
But I'll knock on wood for you.
That's a hardwood right there.
What an incredible string of titles that started about this time last year with the 250 Motocross 2000 Championship, followed by the Motocross Des Nations win in France, the U.S. Open, and then this year's Supercross and Motocross titles. Incredible string. And you tend to forget the hard times, that being mainly the transition into the 250s after winning 125 races.
I remember a photo of it. Looked like somebody put some chicken on his foot peg when he got a foot peg in the hip at San Diego, jumping into the 250 Supercross class. He struggled for a while, but then he was always able to polish that off with a 125 outdoor title, and people forget the hard times he had. You're right. Just think about what's been happening lately, and that's all been so good, you can forget about the bad stuff.
I'm sure people had said that he was going to be too small for the professional ranks. Forgot that a long time ago. Oh, I didn't say that.
He said we all did a little bit. He said it about Jeff Ward, too, but he had one of the longest careers. He won a championship in every class. Still no one has done that. But if they still had a 500 class, I'm sure Ricky'd win.
Before the action started here at Binghamton, New York, we asked Ricky about some of those thoughts. And this is what he had to say.
I think I've been at the bottom, rock bottom before in 1999 and a little bit of 2000 Supercross 250 series. And it's not a place that I like to be. And if I can't win, then I really had no use to race. I don't like to go out there and be behind. I can honestly say in those 2 years, I really wasn't having too much fun. You know, I believe I worked hard enough to win, and I just, if I'm not winning, I'm not happy.
There's Kyle Lewis in 10th. Ricky Carmichael is lapping him. The cheers from the sideline now as Carmichael approaches that checkered flag.
Kyle Lewis back there thinking, man, if he's just cruising and he's going that fast, no wonder he's won that many championships.
Lewis along with Larry Ward, a member of that Moto XXX team. There's the checkers for Ricky Carmichael. 5 consecutive national outdoor titles in a row. There's Rick Ash coming up to congratulate him. He really did a lot of work on that bike along with Chad and Johnny O. Chevy Trucks AMA Motocross is brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, long-lasting trucks on the road. And by Honda, the company that defines performance in motorcycles, ATVs, and scooters. Predictions for greatness started early for this young lad from Florida, setting records at Loretta Lynn's. He then met the expectations of others entering the professional ranks. 25 125 motocross victories and 3 titles. But could he beat Jeremy McGrath in Supercross and continue his brilliance in the 250 ranks? He answered that this year. With today's victory, he passes Jeremy McGrath with his 16th 250 motocross victory, and at the same time caps his 2nd 250 outdoor championship. Kevin Windham taking 2nd, Ferry 3rd, Vuillemin holding on to 4th, and John Dowd rounding out the top 5. Time now for that exciting moment for Ricky Carmichael. Let's go to Davey.
Well, Ricky, once again, congratulations. You got yourself another number.
Thanks a lot, Davey. I tell you, it feels good. It's been kind of a rougher outdoor series than I'm used to. Bridgestone tires got me out to great starts today. I can't complain at all. Chevy Trucks Kawasaki is running really good, and I'm just so proud of the way the year went with the Supercross title and, of course, the outdoor title, and only got one more left, and that's to go to Belgium and show those guys that America's the best.
Well, speaking of titles, I'm going to bring Duke Finch from the AMA in right now, and Duke, I think you have something for Ricky.
Yeah, Ricky, congratulations on defense of your title. We're proud to have you as a champion, and we'll get the nations back again.
Thanks a lot, Duke.
Feels great to be able to hold that #1 plate up. You got all the photographers, friends, people you've known over the years, and it feels a lot different when you wrap it up before the last round versus what Mike Brown and Langston are up against.
Hey, one other thing, I think your mechanic, Chad Watts, had something for you, too. Ricky, you guys have become the first team since Jeff Emig, 1997, to win both the outdoor title and the Supercross title.
I tell you, Davey, it was, it had me scared there for a while. Things weren't going too good, and after Washougal, I had the chance to go to California and test some better motor stuff, and I tell you, with the performance of the last 2 weeks, I think this thing's running really good, and I'm back to my old self. And, you know, I wasn't winning by 20 seconds, and everyone thought I was washed up. And, you know, I wanted to go out with a bang, and I don't know, maybe next weekend I'll try to beat Bomber's record.
Thanks, Ricky.
Nothing much different with the top 3 for the overall here after the 2 motos of action. Carmichael, Windham, and Ferry with Dowd, and Stephane Roncada rounding out the top 5. For Kevin Windham, his 4th podium in a row. Davey?
Kevin, that was another good, strong moto. Better than the first moto even, but it was 2nd overall.
Yeah, and, you know, I guess there's a light behind every cloud, you know, and the second moto was better, but obviously still not good enough, you know, and first and foremost, just, you know, like to congratulate Ricky on a great year, you know, all the way around, both championships, and, you know, he's riding good today, you know, and so, you know, it's nice to be up there in the top, you know, but I lose sight of how good second and third may be because, you know, we're just kind of all right here in Ricky's game. You know, it seems to be his game this year, and but that's good because it gives me a lot of determination, and got a lot of days here in between now and the start of 02. So, you know, just go back to the drawing board and study the tapes and watch his style and try to pick up on some things and come out blazing for 02.
Here's the Suzuki point standings with one more round left on the schedule. Carmichael, Windham, Ferry, LaRocco still have a good battle going on for third, maybe. Vuillemin, Dowd, Roncada, Raynard, and Kyle Lewis in the top 10. The 125's a big disappointment for Mike Brown, crashing out of the lead. Grant Langston sweeping the motos here today. Brown still with a chance for that championship with one more round remaining. Let's go back to Davey.
Mike, I'm sorry I missed you right off the racetrack. What happened?
Oh, I got the good start, you know. I passed everybody the first lap, got in the lead, and, you know, had a pretty good lead. I was pulling away from second place there and felt comfortable. Went over the backside over there. It's kind of soft. And I was kind of on the edge of the, you know, the track right there, and my front end went off to the edge and just, you know, went over the bars. Got up, and I was in second still, and just, you know, I don't know if I didn't think I'd really catch him, but I rode my hardest just to say, you know, I feel better when I got done. But, yeah, I caught up a little bit there and, you know, ended up second, you know, 3 more points back.
What are you going to do at Steel City? I know today had to be a frustrating day being out front in both motos. Now you need some help.
Yeah, I don't know. Just go there and win both motos, you know. I feel I should have won 2 today, and I would have been ahead, but it's over now, and go to next week. Just all I can do is win, and hopefully some people finish in between there.
Tough break, Mike.
What would really make things interesting would be Ricky Carmichael and a Kawasaki going back to the 125s in the final race of the season to break the tie with Mark Barnett, each with 125 career motocross victories.
Well, of course, to break that, he's got to win the race, but look at the battle that Langston and Brown have. It's no secret that Carmichael has helped Brown all summer, and he could be the one that could provide the help that Davey was talking about. Brown needs it, and Carmichael could be the guy, but he can't do that and win the race.
A fascinating way to end the 2001 motocross season. Art Ekman for David Bailey, Davey Coombs, thanking you for being with us. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more information, log on to ESPN.com.